You know that feeling, right? That deep pull towards something more. A search for meaning, for a connection to a purpose that's way bigger than just our day-to-day lives. This is a fundamental part of being human. It's a quest that you can find in every culture and every era. So today, we're going to explore three of the biggest goals of that quest: salvation, liberation, and enlightenment. And we'll look at a really fascinating, rational blueprint for how you might achieve. You know, this call for meaning, it really does speak to all of us, doesn't it? It's like that quiet inner voice, that gut feeling that there's a path to follow, some kind of light to guide us out of the confusion and into a life that has real clarity and purpose. So let's just ask it straight up. What is the ultimate goal here? Are we trying to be saved, to be freed, or to become enlightened? And honestly, what do those words even really mean? Well, the answer, as it turns out, really depends on the path you choose to walk.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because while the search feels universal, the actual destinations are surprisingly distinct. We're going to compare how different traditions define these ultimate goals, and we'll start with the big one: salvation.
So, in a lot of Abrahamic traditions, salvation is the central theme. It's all about mending a broken relationship, right? It's about being rescued from a state of separation from the divine and, well, from the consequences of that separation.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the contrast. The Christian view often frames salvation as a deeply personal journey. It's about your own redemption from sin, and it's seen as a gift of grace you receive through faith. But in contrast, the Jewish perspective has historically put more emphasis on a collective salvation, the redemption of an entire people through right action and sticking to divine law in this world. Okay, let's shift gears and look at some major Eastern traditions. Here, the focus moves away from sin and lands squarely on suffering. The main goals become liberation and enlightenment, basically breaking free from the cycles that keep us trapped in pain and ignorance, and it's largely through your own efforts.
And this just illustrates two totally different approaches to freedom. The Hindu goal of moksha is about getting out of the cycle of rebirth to achieve this union with the divine ultimate reality. But the Buddhist goal of nirvana? That's about extinguishing the very flame of craving and ignorance that causes suffering in the first place. It's a path of really radical self-discipline that doesn't rely on a divine being to save you.
So we've got these really distinct paths, but what if they weren't separate goals at all? Now we're going to explore a framework from the Quran that actually sees salvation, liberation, and enlightenment as interconnected parts of one single rational journey.
The core concept we need to understand is called wasila. And this isn't some mystical, floaty idea. It's presented as a structured, almost scientific process of self-improvement. The goal is to consciously and rationally align your own will with the universal principles of justice and morality, one step at a time. So how do you actually do that? Well, the framework lays out 6 core disciplines, but it's so important to see them not as some random checklist of rituals, but as a deeply integrated program for your personal and ethical development.
The very first discipline is intellectual. The Quran asks this really powerful question, basically saying that if you fail to think, to reflect, to truly understand the guidance, it's like you've locked yourself out from the source of wisdom. In this view, faith actually begins with rational engagement.
Next is salat, which you've probably heard translated as prayer. But just look at this breakdown. It's reframed as a physical and mental rehearsal for life itself. Each movement has a deep purpose. Standing represents your ethical resolve. Bowing is about humbling your own ego, and prostration is the complete alignment of your will with a divine moral framework. It's a discipline you're meant to live 24/7.
The third discipline is infaq, or charitable spending. But again, it's not just about giving away money. It's presented as a form of self-actualization, an ethical investment where you sacrifice a part of your material self to actually strengthen your moral self.
And this metaphor is absolutely key. It suggests that this isn't a zero-sum game at all. Your generosity actually activates a law of recompense, and it yields a predictable, multiplied return, not just in material things, but in the growth of your own character.
So what about fasting, or sum? This framework presents it as a discipline of moral intelligence. The real goal isn't just to stop eating and drinking, it's to actively consume truth and knowledge, while at the same time rejecting and abstaining from falsehood, injustice, and toxic speech.
And look, when you inevitably mess up, there's a process for that too. Toba, or repentance, is a practical 3-step method for course correction. You have to recognize the error, you have to actively fix the damage you caused, and you have to make a real commitment not to do it again.
It's all about principled restoration, not just feeling guilty.
And finally, all of this is held up by a sustained internal infrastructure. You know, the constant remembrance of these principles and the continuous search for knowledge. That's what ensures this moral system isn't just a one-time fix, but a lifelong, intellectually solid commitment.
So, let's pull all this together. What is the ultimate takeaway from this rational, really integrated approach to a meaningful life? Well, the core idea here is a total rejection of fragmented spiritual paths. This framework doesn't see them as separate options at all. It proposes a single, holistic reality that's governed by an unbreakable law of cause and effect, a reality where you take full, direct responsibility for your own destiny.
And in this view, true liberation means freedom from two things: the external chains of blind tradition and dogma, and the internal tyranny of your own ego, your desires, and your vices. It's really about becoming ethically and intellectually sovereign. So enlightenment isn't some passive, mystical state that you just fall into. No, it's an active state of profound rational clarity. It's something you achieve by continuously decoding the universal principles of cause and effect, of truth and falsehood. It's about knowing, not just feeling. And that brings us to the most crucial point. In this blueprint, salvation is not some unearned gift or a cosmic lottery. It's an earned triumph. It is the predictable, just, and almost mathematical consequence of a life built on conscious ethical investment and intellectual conviction. It is a success you literally build for yourself. Which leaves us with a final question to really think about. Based on this rational blueprint, is that profound sense of purpose we're all searching for something we just stumble upon by chance? Or is it something we have to consciously, deliberately, and rationally build one principled choice at a time?